The next speaker, we're very fortunate, and he landed in Sydney this morning, and we're so thankful to him for being here from Malaysia. Mr. Umar Munshi is the head of Ethis Real Estate Crowdfunding. Mr. Munshi is an Islamic social entrepreneur. At the age of 21, Mr. Munshi secured the license for a nanotech healthcare products in Singapore and expanded to Saudi Arabia and Indonesia. In 2006, Mr. Munshi was awarded this SMCCI's coveted Young Entrepreneur of the Year Finalist. In 2014, Mr. Munshi co-founded Ethis.com, the world's first Islamic real estate crowdfunding platform that focuses on social impact real estate development, and successfully crowdfunded more than, over $3 million. Mr. Munshi also co-founded capitalboost.com, focused on SMC Crowdfunding, and is partner at Ihram.asia, a pioneer Umrah-travel marketplace. Mr. Munshi is on board of the Singapore Malay Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and the local president of TDA Singapore, an Indonesian community of 20,000 entrepreneurs. Today, Mr. Munshi has come all the way from Malaysia to join us, and we are thankful for his time. And he'll be providing an insight into Islamic real estate powered by community. I'd like to please give him a warm welcome on stage.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I kept saying Malaysia, it's Singapore.
Yeah, it's all right, we are nervous. Thank you for the long introduction. You put the standard very high, but basically I'm just an entrepreneur. Alhamdulillah, what we have started has grown and it has made a good impact. Right now I only have about 5 minutes, is it? 5 minutes? No? 10? I have about 10 minutes because I know everybody is waiting to leave after this and to do networking. But very quickly, Ethis stands for Ethical and Islamic. Earlier today, a few of the speakers did talk about how Islamic finance or Islamic investments must also be in line or must also have a strong social impact. So what I'm doing here is I'd like to share with you what we have done. We have not succeeded yet. We are still growing. We are still a startup. But we are making good progress. And the main objective of me being here today is to hopefully open up more ideas, to maybe even inspire people to do similar initiatives in their own countries, with us or on your own. The Ummah needs a lot of help, and inshallah when we come together as a crowd, we can do a lot for the community. Alright, so very quickly, Islamic crowdfunding. Now before I continue, Alhamdulillah on Friday, on the 1st of April, 9 Islamic crowdfunding platforms came together in Kuala Lumpur, and we set up the Islamic FinTech Alliance. So this alliance, we hope, will help to drive the future of finance technology in the Muslim community globally. Our members make up people from Qatar, from the US, from Luxembourg, Singapore, Malaysia, from around the world. So inshallah, a lot of interesting things happening there. Watch the space. So what we do is Islamic real estate crowdfunding. This is our website. You can go to ethiscrowd.com. And this is what we have done so far. So we are 2 years old. First year was a lot of learning and adjusting. Last year was some growth, and this year we're growing very fast. So thus far, purely through organic reach, purely through social media, word of mouth, mainly in Singapore, we have crowdfunded or processed about $3.6 million, which is not that big, which is actually very small in the finance, real estate, or even the crowdfunding world. But we see this as a very strong proof of concept. And more than that, further to that, you can see the impact is that we have, based on this little amount of money, we've actually used this to build or to start to initiate building 5,000 houses for the needy in Indonesia. And the bottommost point there is very interesting also. Realized returns average 10% to 16% on an annualized basis. What we do is social impact, but it's also commercial, right? We feel to be sustainable, people need to make money, and then they'll be more willing to put in more money to help others. So alhamdulillah, returns have been very high. We don't guarantee any returns, of course. Everything is Islamic, but alhamdulillah, people are making good money. Right, so why do we exist? There are 4 gaps that we want to serve. Firstly, it's on the investor side, real estate. Everybody wants to invest in real estate. if I were to do a quick poll here, everyone either already invested or would want to invest in real estate. The barrier here is capital. So what we want to do is we want to break down this capital barrier by using crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is essentially when people go online to pool funds for a specific purpose. We have some minimums, right? And our minimum is quite low, usually $500 to $1,000, depending on the project, right? So it is quite accessible. Sharia-based. Now, Islamic finance, of course, alhamdulillah, is growing well. It's done a lot of great things, but you could probably argue that it's not as inclusive as it should be. And maybe also it is sometimes technically structured to be halal, but over-structuring at times may make it lose its very purpose or essence of what it's supposed to do, the spirit of it. Not all, of course, but there are examples. I'm sure you're aware of that also. So we feel that there is this gap. Muslims want to invest in the real economy directly, right? The last two is more of the impact of what we do. Firstly, affordable homes. So many Muslim countries have this issue, right? In Indonesia, there are 18 million homes required. There's a shortage of 18 million homes. It'll take many, many years for that gap to be fulfilled. And of course, Wakaf. Wakaf is our bank. It is the Ummah's bank. It's the Muslims' store of wealth, and it is largely dormant and largely unproductive. So this is what we hope to help to make this situation better and to empower the Muslims globally, not only in Southeast Asia. Right. What we did was our considerations were very much based on business fundamentals. We need to make sure the business is sustainable. We need to make sure people make money. Indonesia, I lived there for about 7 years, so to some extent, I understand a very complex country. The challenge here is that people are not, even Muslims, sometimes are not willing to take risk. Maybe sometimes, especially Muslims, are not willing to take risk, unfortunately. So we have to structure things Islamically, yet at the same time protect the investor. So what we've done is that we've found this sweet spot in Indonesia, and we believe in every country there would be certain gaps that you can fulfill that would give returns, social impact, as well as security and safety for investors, right? So what we've done in Indonesia is that because of this huge shortage of housing, any estate you make that is affordable will sell out. In fact, all our estates are sold out before we start crowdfunding, right? So that's the situation over there. We go to an area, we look we get the demand, we get the customers, we pre-screen the customers, and then we start crowdfunding. So the entire loop is closed from the very beginning, which reduces risk significantly. PT Ethis is a real estate development company that we set up ourselves in Indonesia. And they are important because they joint venture with every developer that we crowdfund, yeah, to protect the interests of the investor. Right. Second is direct investment with the project owners. This is how we have structured things. You invest and contract with the project owner, not the platform and not any other intermediary. Okay? And this is very important because we save cost, it's easier, it's more transparent, and legally your rights are clearer also. We've just started in Malaysia about 2 months ago. Alhamdulillah, we've had 2 very interesting projects. The first was houses for flood victims in Pahang, which is a state in Malaysia. And this was actually a government project. Government issued a contract order to a contractor, and we provided crowdfunding for them to build these homes with profit. The second Malaysian project is called the Auqaf Corporate Park in Putrajaya, which is the administrative capital of Malaysia. It's not our project, but we are contributing a small amount of funds for that much bigger project. Yep. Crowdfunding with social impact. Now, this is the most interesting thing. In Indonesia, the money that we put in stretches a long way, right? $100,000 can build 30 homes for 150 people. Now, it sounds very strange, because $100,000, what can you get in Australia? 2 houses? 3? Less? No, not even that. Right? Maybe a parking lot. Right? So now, this is not the actual or full cost of the project. Right? What we do is we provide bridging financing to developers, and we work with the Islamic banks in Indonesia who have a lot of liquidity, but they're not able to disburse their funds. So our funds provide the bridge that brings the banks and the projects together. Right? So there is some leverage involved in that sense. Wakaf, Yeah, definitely Wakaf is something that we focus on in the long run. It's much trickier than affordable housing for many reasons, culture and so on. But Alhamdulillah, we're making progress on that front also. So if you want to check out our projects, go to our website, take a look. I'm not here to sell our investments. I'm here to let you know that, that this is what we have done, and we believe this can be done in many other areas, of course with localization and so on, and it can be done at a much, much larger scale. The economy today, the new economy, is a sharing economy where people fund people, where people come together online to do things together, and that is what gives us power. And that is the intrinsic nature of the Muslim community. We are here to support and help each other. We do not so-called need the banks to do it for us. We can lend to each other, we can support each other, we can finance each other, we can fund each other. And with the internet, we have this unprecedented opportunity to do so. And that is the space that we are focused on. Right? So we do go on a lot of trips. This was late last year. In October last year, we brought some of our investors over. Our investors are a mix of Muslims and non-Muslims. This is more of our projects, pictures, newspaper articles, video. I'm not sure whether we can play this. Can you try and press it from there? Yeah. This is called Kampung. Kampung means village. Islamic Toyibah. This is in the outskirts of Jakarta. Everything you see here is funded from the crowd, right? So we are building a total of 1,200 houses. The first phase that you see here, which is now already completed, this was 3 months ago, we already built 196 houses. And that DP over there is down payment. It's 1.3 million rupiah. Sounds big, but it's actually very little. It's about 120 Australian dollars. Right? So with 120 Australian dollars down payment, the low-income families can actually own a home. Right? That's how affordable it is. One house is sold, the total price is about $8,000. 8,000 US dollars, about 12,000 Australian dollars. This is our next project that we are building right now. You can press play also. Sorry. Okay, so very similar concept. If you take a look at it, it's almost the same. You may not know that it's a different project, it's just different colors. This particular segment is in abundance. We can do this again and again and again forever, because we need to build 18 million homes, right? We are building 1,000, 2,000, 1,000, 2,000. It's going to take a long, long time, and that's where there's a lot of opportunity. Right? Similar opportunities are present in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in many parts of the Muslim world. Right, these are all just media articles. I'll skip all these. We go to a lot of events. Alhamdulillah, we get invited to many things because we are a novelty and not many other people doing what we do. So there's a lot of interest. All right, so how do we work? Very straightforward. You go online, you register. It's quick. It's just 3 steps, and you're in. Once you're in, you can choose the project that you like. And of course, you can inquire or invest, and everything else is done online, e-signing and transfers. So it's very straightforward. Of course, we give you updates. At the end of the day, this is a very risky investment. I need to stress on that, because it is outside of the banking world. It is direct people to people in the real economy. So when you do this kind of businesses, or in our case, this kind of deals, there's no guarantee, there's no capital guarantee, there's no return guarantee. Yet, alhamdulillah, people still come forward. People still put their money in because they believe in what we are trying to do. Right? So the crowd transfers directly to the project owners and sign a profit-sharing rights agreement. There's no transfer of ownership or shares. It's a profit-sharing project financing structure. So all the legal work, all the due diligence, and all the banking work is done in Singapore. And that's it. I hope to have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Yeah? All right. Any questions?
Correct? Is this a sukuk?
It's not a sukuk. It's mudarabah, it's profit sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have investors from Australia, inshallah, if everything goes well with your projects, you're actually repatriating funds to those investors.
Correct.
In Singapore dollars.
Yes. Right now, for Indonesian projects, we are, because of the margin that the developer earns over there, and we are a co-developer on that side also, we have enough margin to actually hedge against currency risk for the investor. So if you prefer to invest in Australian dollar, that can be done also. Before this, it was all in Singapore dollar because our investors were from Singapore. But now more and more, we have Australians, we have Middle Easterners, we have people from the UK, from the US starting to invest. And it is not a deliberate policy yet, but in principle, we can accept and return in a specific currency. Yes?
Yeah. Which law of land would apply when it comes to crowdfunding?
Now, in this case, right now, our activities, our projects are in Indonesia and Malaysia, but the law that applies is Singapore law. Singapore law, because Singapore law is not as, how would you say, as flexible as Indonesia. And Singapore is much more transparent also.
Sorry, because Australia still hasn't given a green signal to crowdfunding yet. So how does that fit in?
Right. Now in Singapore also, there are no clear regulations. In Southeast Asia, only Malaysia has regulations for equity crowdfunding. What we do is not equity. We don't collect deposits. We don't give financial advice. Right? We just match. So technically, that is safe. Right? My partner in Singapore is a lawyer. My partner in Malaysia is also a big law firm.
Yeah.
So they make sure that we work within what is legal. But of course, as more and more money starts getting transacted, the government will definitely get more and more interested in what we do.
Yes.
And the interest has been positive so far. In Singapore, in Malaysia, the government has been very supportive of what we do. In Indonesia, we have not actually reached out to the government, although our projects are over there. In Australia, we do plan to set up. We are in the process actually. So inshallah, we'll be setting up here with a trustee over here. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
brother, does this model can be implemented in Australia on a local level?
If we follow our existing format based on Australian law, from my understanding, it can be done. But because Australia maybe is a little bit more sensitive, I know there were a few issues there are a few real estate crowdfunding platforms here also already. So like I mentioned earlier, we are actually planning to get a license or the ability to raise funds from Australia with an underwriter or a trustee company. Yeah, that's still in the process. Right now, Australians are investing and they do it through our structure in Singapore. We don't have a legal presence here, so it is out of Singapore. The investment is done through that way. Now, the main thing I want to focus on here is not so much on the investment opportunity. It's more of creating an ecosystem. It's more of creating a community that can support other communities, right? So, inshallah, I think I'm out of time, is it? No. Okay. Oh, that's good. So I have more time. Now, my focus is to create communities, right? And the Muslim community is one huge global Muslim community separated by state lines. Online, we're not separated by state lines. Of course, there's different laws and everything. Laws will always catch up with innovation, right? All laws will take time to catch up with innovation. So as long as the law is trying to catch up, we just move ahead as fast as we can. That's the way I see it, right? And as long as we're doing good things, governments in principle will be supportive, right? Governments in principle will be supportive. If we have the right structures, the right due diligence, the right corporate governance, inshallah, governments will know that there's a social impact that's positive. So in Australia, we're looking at a few different types of projects, just to share with all of you. We can potentially have projects that can assist the refugee situation over here, refugee housing. We can have affordable housing. And Wakaf is a bit tricky, but inshallah something about that can potentially be done also. But definitely we need a lot of support from the local community. We are just a platform. You know, we cannot be experts on every different territory and country. We need to work with good local guys, good local people, and the community needs to come on board to support. Thank you everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.